Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. Coming up, birds of prey make their way to the deep in East Yorkshire. We head to St John Newland Church in Hull for reflections, and my guest tonight is Elaine Norton, chairman of the community forum One Voice, as residents in Immingham get set for the town's music festival. Welcome to Estuary News. I'm Erica Barker. Now it's time to head over to Richard Morris for the news headlines.
North Lincolnshire Council have received nearly £14,000 to help improve Brumbury Wood Local Nature Reserve. The money was given to the council from City UK. It's hoped that the funds will greatly improve access through the woods and make it more accessible for all. Work on the footpath will start in the autumn. It's also hoped that some of the steeper gradients and poor drainage will be improved. A man has suffered bruising to the eye and a dislocated shoulder after an assault in Bridlington. The incident happened on Thursday evening. A man was with his teenage son when a group of 3 men started punching the 42-year-old to the ground. Police are now investigating the assault. You can contact Crime Stoppers anonymously or reach out to Humberside Police directly. Police are appealing for information after a man died and 2 others were seriously injured after a car collided with a tree about 2 miles away from Tickton. The incident happened on Sunday in the early hours of the morning. The front passenger, a 20-year-old man, was pronounced dead at the scene. The police are also looking into this incident as having a potential link to damage made to 2 vehicles outside a pub in Branzome. Officers are now asking for help from the public in connection with the incident. Humberside Police are encouraging kids to stay out of trouble this summer. Now the summer holidays have started, children will be going outside to entertain themselves and may cause trouble, landing them in problems with the police. The Summer Stay Safe campaign, which the Humberside Force has launched alongside 4 local authorities, aims to keep kids occupied with a range of activities, as Sergeant James Main explains.
And the idea is that when officers come across young people on the streets in any part of the police region, they're able to log onto a mobile data device, clicking the region they're in, and all the activities that are taking place for that particular time come up on that area. So over the 6 weeks, to keep the Summer Stay Safe campaign fresh, we're launching a safety message behind it each week for those 6 weeks.
That's all from me for now, and don't forget, if you have any news for us, then please email us on news@estuary.tv or contact us on 01472 31 55553. We're also on Facebook or Twitter. Bye for now.
The Deep in Hull is known for its large collection of exotic sea creatures and its penguins, but its latest arrivals aren't fish or penguins, but a falcon and a hawk. Dave Nernett dived down to the deep to find out more.
The deep makes us think of exotic sea creatures and penguins, but its brand new star editions last week were somewhat different to its usual roster of animals, and they were there to work.
All we're doing here today is scaring away the pigeons because they're becoming a nuisance and making a mess on the balcony where the penguins come out in the winter. So we're just doing pest control to scare them off.
The falcon and hawk have been scouring the area around the deep to keep the pigeons away from its star-feathered attraction, its penguins, and the balcony behind their enclosure. The hawk and falcon act as predators to keep the pigeons away for the benefit of the penguins.
It's to make the pigeons think there's a predator in the area and they won't want to nest or stay around or roost up where there's any predators, so that's the reason why we're using these. It's because they carry so many different diseases and bacteria, and when they're making a mess on the balcony, we don't want the penguins to ingest any of that and catch any of the diseases or bacteria that they're depositing on the balcony.
The majority of the deep's animals go through strict quarantine procedures on arrival and are often bred in captivity. The penguins won't have the same immunities as wild ones, which is why protecting them from disease-carrying pigeons is important.
Well, we think it's very important because they've not been exposed to these sorts of pathogens. They live in an enclosed environment. The air is constantly circulated, and so if one of them gets sick, it can go through the whole colony relatively quickly. So we do whatever we can really to make sure that we minimise any risk to them.
It's also about enriching the penguins' quality of life. By letting them onto the balcony, it allows them to experience the outside and fresh air. something that they'll have rarely done after being bred in captivity.
Certainly before they came to us, many of these penguins had never seen the sun before, never seen the sky, so it's important to us, to know that they're not just cooped up in a room for the rest of their lives. They get a chance to go out and see the sea. We've got a fantastic view down the Humber from here, and feel the wind and feel a little bit more natural than otherwise might be the case.
The falcon and hawk will be making regular visits to the deep for the next 3 months, so there's a chance you'll see them alongside the penguins.
You're watching Estuary News. Coming up later, the Reverend Lee McMahon from St John Newland Church in Hull delivers his week's reflections, and Richard Morris will bring you the latest sports news and results. Following the success of Immingham's centenary celebrations in 2012, which involved a party in the park that attracted over 3,000 people, musicians are to take to the stage once again next month for the town's annual iFest event. And joining me is one of the organisers, Elaine Norton. Hello Elaine, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
So what is the iFest then? How did it come about?
The iFest was basically birthed from the centenary celebrations following the Immingham 100 event. The town asked for an annual event, and we were very grateful that ABP said that they would sponsor an annual event to be able to be brought to the town basically, and that's where we came with iFest.
And what's involved in it? I know you've got musicians, but it's a great family day, isn't it, for everyone?
Yeah, I think the whole point of having iFest is to give the opportunity for the community to come together and to be able to have a family fun day, but also to celebrate the successes that we have in the town. We've got some very talented young people, and we've got very talented musicians. There's a great musical interest in the town, and I think it's just great to be able to celebrate that. And Immingham can be an isolated community that doesn't have a lot going on at times. So it's great to have something that everybody can look forward to and focus on having a bit of fun as a family.
And that's the thing, there's great talent in the area as well, isn't it? And it's good for them to showcase them, and it's good that people get to see them also.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in the past we've always had dance performances, but this year we've actually got the youngest of our musicians. There's a couple of community projects which One Voice have been able to gain funding for, which are Rock School and Just Dance. And the Just Dance, they started in January, and they're going to be opening the show along with the Rock School group, that's another project which was funded through One Voice. So we was able to get funding from Comic Relief and also from the People's Health Trust for those two projects. So they're going to be showcasing their talents in the iFest event, and that's going to be great for them as well. I mean, it's quite scary actually performing to such a big audience. So it's just the older group of the Rock School, and then that gives the young ones something to work up to for future events. So they're really excited about it.
And as well as having what's going on stage, there's things happening off stage as well, isn't there? You're saying the climbing wall and... Yeah,
that's right. I mean, in addition to the Rock School and the Just Dance, we've also got local performances on stage from Wisers, Decoy, Rewind, they're great 90s tribute band, Dangerous Brothers and Nomads Rock. So they're really, they're really great entertainment. But alongside that, we've also got 100% entertainment coming along to keep the children happy, and then they'll be followed off by the Earthbound Misfits, who will be doing circus workshops. And then we've also got activities such as football zorbing. That's new for this year. We've not done that before. Very big risk assessment.
Are you going to be giving that a go?
Yeah.
Can we give it a go? Will I fit
in? Yeah, that would be really good fun. So people are quite excited about that. And then we've also got archery, that's something which has been really popular at other events that we've done. And then we've got a climbing wall, which is being delivered by the Scouts. So it's a real community event where everybody comes along and brings their bit. And we've got some charity stalls as well, which have come along. So it's going to be great for them to be able to promote what they do as well. So there's a range of different charity stalls. We've got a lifestyle team coming along and doing something as well. So.
And coming to the money then, is this a free event, and how is it funded?
Yeah, well basically ABP sponsor the funding of the event. Obviously the costs get bigger as you want to expand on it, and this year we wanted to make it a little bit bigger and better. So we get the bulk of our sponsorship from ABP, and we're really grateful to them. And we do have it as a free event, so it is free entry. But what we will be doing to help try and sustain future events is we'll be going around with collection buckets on the day. So we really want people, rather than paying an entry fee, to just contribute what they can afford to, as little or as much as they want to, and then that'll help to support the continuation of the events, you know, because the cost of them does increase a little bit each year. So it's just being able to make sure we can sustain it and be a bit more independent in that. We're very grateful to ABP, but I think we've got to stand on our own 2 feet as well.
Oh, that's great, then. Thank you. I'll be back in 1 minute.
Okay.
So now it's time then for our weekly reflections, and this week it's Reverend Lee McNunn from St John Newland Church in Hull.
One of the things I love when I read about the life of Jesus in the Bible is just how honest the records are about what he did and what he said. I was reminded of this recently as I looked over the resurrection accounts, because the story is told there of women going to the tomb of Jesus, but with spices. Why spices? Because they didn't think that he was going to be raised from the dead. They were going to put the spices on a dead body. When they arrived at the tomb, they met an angel, according to the Bible, who said that the Jesus they were looking for was alive. So they went to tell his disciples this great news that Jesus was alive, and we were told that they thought it was all nonsense. And then, although there were 11 of them who had followed Jesus all the way through his ministry, who had been told that there was a possibility that he was alive, only one of them went to check it out if it was true. Now, that is remarkable, because all this stuff for these early church leaders was rather embarrassing. Sometimes I meet people and they say, I just don't know, can I trust when I read the Bible, is it true? Well, here's, I think, what I see in the Bible. There is a bias, but the people who are writing are biased towards telling you the whole truth and nothing but the truth, no matter how embarrassing it is to the people that you read about.
Now we're back then with Elaine Norton. So Elaine, since the centenary event, how have things developed? How have things progressed?
I think it's just been a case of building on the events each year, really. The following year, we moved the partnership from working with Town Council to move into working with Blossom Way. And this year, One Voice have planned the event independently, and Blossom Way have supported by allowing us to use the grounds. That's been really good. And it's just really about finding out what the community want, what kind of fairground rides they enjoy and things like that. We've done a little bit of feedback from them to say how can we improve it each year. And you know, everything costs money, which is why we want the voluntary donations to come in, really, because we'd like to be able to put like tribute band on as well, because that's something that people have asked for. So each year it's just been about listening to the community and finding out what they want, what they like about the event, what they don't like about the event. We usually get really positive feedback, and then just building on that, really, and just trying to expand it and make it a little bit bigger and a bit better this year. So as well, what we've done this year is we've actually got the fair running either side of the event as well. So the fairground ride, really popular, and we don't have the fair come to town very often. So we've been able to get more fairground rides because we've extended it, and we're opening the fair on the Friday evening and then on the Sunday as well. So
and where is this taking place, Elaine?
It's taking place at Blossom Way Sports and Social Club in Immingham.
And coming on to One Voice then, that's one of the biggest organisers, isn't it? Because I know that One Voice does lots of different things in the community, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Basically, One Voice, we're a community forum, which I'm a chairperson for, and we work in partnership to make a difference and basically just try and make the town a better place for everybody. So we'll respond to different community initiatives, looking at like the young people projects, which I've already spoken about, and how we can make those happen. So sometimes people will come to us and they'll say, we really want this in the town. And we'll think, well, is that something we can aim to deliver? And we'll do what we can to try to. But what we do is always about working in partnership with other people. And it's about looking at how we can make a difference and add value
you
to
sound
that.
very passionate about this. Is this something you feel strongly about, that you're able to do this in the community?
Yeah, I think for me, I think people can look at Immingham in a very negative way sometimes. And I believe that Immingham's a place that's got a lot of potential. And all it needs is people with passion to build on that potential. And I made a decision, you know, as an individual a long time ago, that you don't complain about something you can do something about. You know, and I mean, I'm just an Immingham resident. There's nothing special about me, and you know, I've just got a passion for the town, and we've got many other committee members who are the same as well, and we all just work together to just try and make a difference, really. So, and whoever we can work in partnership with, we will do, because we want to make a difference in the town.
And if there are businesses watching, and you would welcome if there's any help they could give, is it just financial
definitely.
Help, or is it volunteers?
It's a bit of all sorts, really. I mean, we have been very blessed with ABP. Following the centenary celebrations as well, they gifted substantial amount of money to One Voice, and that allows us to give funding out to community groups. So if there's a community group out there that is looking for you know, funding for their projects, we also support those. But then we also apply for funding from different sources as well. So if there is a local business out there and they want to do something to make a difference in the community, I would just urge them to get in touch, because there's lots of different things that we're involved in, and even if it's not something that we can help with directly, we can signpost them on to somebody else who they would be able to help.
And do you see this event going from strength to strength? Would you like to see it in years and years to come?
Yeah, I'd like to think that, you know, when my grandchildren are born, that they'll be going along and, you know, they'll be enjoying the event as well, because I think in the past people really enjoyed having what was then called the Immingham Show, and for reasons I'm unsure of, that didn't continue over the years, and we hadn't had a community event before this for quite some time, and people really enjoy it. So for me, it's nice to have that every year, and I just think it'd be great if we can still have that going in 10, 20, 30 years time. You know, who knows maybe how long it would continue for, but I just hope it'll be long standing.
Oh, that's great, Elaine. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Now joining me for a weekly look at what is happening in the world of local news is the fabulous Dave Nunn. Oh, fabulous. That's a nice introduction, Dave. What's been going on?
So one of the things we've got is Lincolnshire Police are saying they will continue to go after drug smokers and cannabis growers. This is after Durham Police said that they would stop prosecuting and going after people who are only growing small amounts of cannabis.
Right, okay, so is it that they're going after it when it's larger amounts then, or smaller amounts?
Well, Lincolnshire Police said they're just going to continue prosecuting drug smokers and small-time cannabis growers despite another force relaxing its law. So basically, they're just going to have a no exceptions policy. They're just going to go after everyone. Can I say Durham Police have decided that they're not going to go after people that have, you know, growing small amounts of cannabis, or people that are only in possession of a small amount. So
and is this something that's going to affect our region then? How will that impact us?
Well, since it's Lincolnshire Police, it'll be you know, sort of Louth area, that sort of area will be affected. But I think it's, you know, some people say that the police shouldn't go after people that are growing only small amounts of cannabis when they should be going after the people with a larger amount. And some people say they should be going after everyone no matter what, because it is breaking the law. So I think it's, you know, a balanced argument on either side, really, whichever way you sit.
All right, okay. And what else do we have?
So this is quite an interesting one. We got something that'll be mentioned briefly in the sports news is Grimsby Town supporters are now crowdfunding the club.
Oh, what does that mean?
So, as an introduction to crowdfunding, basically, in the last couple of years, all these websites have risen up. So you've got things like Kickstarter, and you've got, I think the other one's called like Crowdfund or something. And basically, someone can go on there with an idea. So in this case, they're funding what they call Operation Promotion, because the club nearly got promoted last year. So they want to get to the same spot again this year. So they've said to the fans, look, you can donate money to basically fund the transfer budget to buy players.
This has been really successful, hasn't it? They have raised quite a lot of money. It has,
because they asked for just £20,000 and they got over 110,000. So they got more than 5 times what they asked for, which is generally how things go on Kickstarter and crowdfunding sites anyway. So it has been a success. But there are sort of pros and cons to crowdfunding. It's something I'm familiar with. So, I mean, obviously it allows the fans to get involved and they can contribute money to what they see as a worthwhile cause. But I think some people might be a bit cynical that Grimsby Town themselves have set up a crowdfunding campaign, because they're not exactly, you know, it's not a single person, they're a small up-and-coming club. You know, Grimsby Town is quite a big club, so people might be thinking, well, surely they'd have this money themselves rather than having to raise it off fans. But I think, you know, I do think it's generally quite a good idea.
Do you think other clubs may follow?
Yeah, that's the thing. I've never really heard of a football club, you know, going to something like crowdfund or Kickstarter to do something like this. And I can easily see sort of lower level clubs that maybe don't get you know, money due to TV rights and coverage. I can see them doing something very similar, yeah.
Okay, what's the next one?
So we've got a continuation of a campaign to save high street banks. So NatWest in Caister is going to be the latest branch that will be closing soon, and obviously people don't want that to happen, so they're rallying around trying to save their local high street banks in rural communities.
And it's a big issue, isn't it, about, you know, banks and post offices and how important they are, and with the closure of them, what other choices do people have rather than having to go into a bigger town or to be able to
because for
do
somewhere
what they need to do?
like Caister, if say the bank is closed now, but if like a post office shut down as well, the only alternative they'd have to do to go all the way to Grimsby. And in these rural areas, you get a lot of elderly people living there who don't really want to have to travel all the way to a place like Grimsby to get the money out and do whatever. So it is a serious issue. And as the banks have, you know, been restrained after the financial crisis, they've, you know, had to cut back. They're closing these rural branches because, you know, it's the way for them to save money, even though banks like NatWest have actually promised in the past that they wouldn't shut any rural branches. So this comes as a bit of a blow, really.
I will leave it there, Dave. Thank you. Now it's time to hand over to Richard Morris with the sports news.
Hull KR lost 52 points to 12 away to St Helens, which ended any lingering hopes of competing in the Super 8s. In the second half, the Saints scored 28 points with no reply. After the game, head coach Chris Chester said with their Challenge Cup semi-final coming up, some players have played themselves into contention to be selected while others might miss out. Grimsby Town supporters' Operation Promotion Fund final figure was over £110,000 with 3,500 donations from 2,000 supporters. At the beginning of the 8-week campaign, club officials said that they were hoping to raise £20,000, which was actually achieved on just the first day. Grimsby beat Notts County 3-0 to make it 7 successive pre-season wins, including a trio of league sides in the process after this latest triumph. The Mariners might have scored further goals, but Paul Hurst will be more pleased after his side managed to keep a clean sheet. At the Armoy Road Races, Guy Martin finished first in the open race ahead of William Dunlop and Derek Shields, who were second and third respectively. In the Race of Legends, Dunlop beat Martin by 2.4 seconds with a record lap time in the 600cc race. However, the competition was overshadowed by a serious accident sustained by Ian Simpson in the 400cc Supersport, who was airlifted to Belfast Royal Victoria Hospital, where he currently remains. That's all from me for now, and if you have any sports news for us, then please contact us on sport@estuary.tv, or you can give us a call on 01472 31553. Bye for now.
That's all for this evening. Thank you to my guest, Elaine Norton. Well, if you have a news story, then visit our Facebook or Twitter pages, details on the screen, or email news@estuary.tv, or phone Grimsby 01472 315561. Until tomorrow, good night.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Tuesday will be cool and mostly wet with further spells of heavy, showery rain. Some chance of brightness though and drier spells with maximum temperatures of 18 degrees. Wednesday is becoming brighter but breezy and cool with scattered showers, the evening feeling much cooler.